watches. Yes, that's what I do now. And there's no greater reminder of the value of time than when you're in the watch business. And with age, naturally, of course, comes reflection. You turn back the hands of time, and I guess try and figure out why you are the way you are, and for the purpose of just bettering yourself for the future. And sometimes time also seems to stand still when it's one thing after another, and the simplest things like getting out of bed become all too difficult. I grew up in a nuclear family consisting of my father, the great media mogul, that is Tony Msalame. Okay, I told you I like this side. I'd like to thank KNT for existing. My parents met on this stage. If it wasn't for KNT, I probably wouldn't be here. My father started off as an actor, and so did my mother. I know she's in the audience. Hi, Mom. And my sister, hi. And this is where the love story began. So I'm grateful for this space. And clearly I come from the creative genes. So my father did the stage, he also did TV. Any old school people in the house you remember Tushoriane? Oh, yeah? Oh, I love it. So he played Dennis Karani. My mom, too, was in that show. Even I apparently appeared at 3 months old, and I just kept crying, but they kept me in the, that's why I had to be on set. And right next is KBC. He also did radio there for many years, produced and hosted many shows. Most notably, Shake Legi with Tony. Msalame, yes, Lingala. Even I, as a kid, enjoyed it. I think it's how he did it. And then, of course, Dennis was on stage before me. I know he worked with my dad for many years in advertising. Many people don't know that. He also wore that hat. He was head of production at O&M for many years, and they produced one of Kenya's most brilliant ads. So growing up, my sister and I had big shoes to fill. I've just talked about my dad, I realized. My mother, the rock of the family, Pauline Msalame, she is our prayer warrior, compassionate. She's a mother to everyone, really. I love you, Mom. She really is our rock. And my sister, she's petite, Natasha, but she can lift weights like a boss, so don't mess with her. And we watched my dad he really worked hard. And as much as to the world he was this loud and funny and entertaining, he was very different at home. There are many things that we picked from my dad. One of them being hard work. So for me, I started working very early, about 19 years old. By the grace of God and my mom, who has amazing networks, I started off as an intern at KTN, now Standard Group, and worked hard and just grew up the ladder from that to hosting and producing in many media houses, KTN, NTV, Capital, and Radio Africa, all the way to TV management. And I repeat, truly by the grace of God. Those same values that I really admired about my father and hard work that my sister and I ran with is the same thing I looked for when it came to the opposite sex. Any man who was hardworking and passionate and creative naturally won my heart. As I grew, of course, all of us, we desire, or most of us women, the picture-perfect family, the knight in shining armor, the beautiful wedding, and the children that follow. Though as I grew, I discovered it's not black and white or that easy. Broke a few hearts, or my heart got broken a few times. But I learned, and I guess I just realized that maybe I just didn't know any better. And something I discovered, and it's probably through just knowledge and therapy, is for the longest time, I thought I had to be a certain way to be loved, be perfect, or if I'm not, this person will leave. And funny enough, I got that from my father. I felt like I had to be a certain way for him to see me, to notice me, and I carried that into my relationships. I thought if I wasn't perfect, they would leave. And of course, you don't carry that with you into relationships. So they were doomed to fail from the get-go. So I tried, and even later on, I became a mother. But I did find the love of my life. I held on to that hope, even with the trials, and some publicly, unfortunately. And because of the years of just not knowing any better, I was jaded and damaged, so I hardly saw him as that at first. So I still held back and didn't give of myself. But slowly, he won his way into my heart and it melted. You know that feeling, ladies, when, yeah, I can hear a giggle somewhere there. For the first time in my life, I felt safe. I felt seen and I felt heard. And for me, that's very important to exist in that environment. There are times in life when time seems to stand still. Well, that was put to the test in 2021 when my partner received a life-threatening diagnosis that put everything on pause. For me, I was numb, I was angry, confused, because after all this time, and we'd been through a rough patch the year before, I thought the worst was behind us. I couldn't think this could happen again. And in its finality, there's nothing like facing death head on that leaves you asking so many questions. Why? Why now? Even why us? It's very selfish. I mean, why not you? But in that moment, why us? And of course, the thought of how do you start again? And the older you get, it's harder. I was angry. I was broken. You see, 13 years ago, May 28th, 2010, on a Friday, life as we knew it changed drastically. I had just come off of a very bad breakup, the public one. And like I mentioned, I did start working early, so I was already out of home and doing my thing. But that breakup humbled me, and all I wanted to do was go back to my parents' house. And my father wasn't very pleased when I moved out, so I knew he'd be happy to see me home. And for me, the reason was I just wanted to feel safe. And that usually comes, at least for us, or as women, we look to our father for that figure of protection. So I quickly went back home, and at this time, my father had launched a radio station down at the coast called Shaky FM. So he moved a lot between Nairobi and Mombasa. So I knew his schedule. I knew by the end of the week, he'll be coming home. So I said, I'll move back home and I won't say a word. I'll just wait and surprise him. This was a weekend. So Friday's here, and I remember Thursday, I was a bit off, but I couldn't wait for him to come. But Friday, 7 a.m., either, I can't recall clearly, my mom either screamed up, she was upstairs, or she called out for us. So we ran up to her room, and she's on the phone, she's crying, and she says, Papa. Instantly, I knew Papa isn't coming home. He suffered a heart attack the day he was meant to come home. And for the longest time, I battled with, excuse me. Oh, wow. Each time I talk about this, it's like it happened yesterday. I battled with, I never got to say goodbye. And I blame myself because I had the opportunity to. I could have called, I'm home, I can't wait to see you, say I love you. But that didn't happen. God had other plans. So in moments where your loved ones save almost a similar fate, it's very easy to go back there. It's very easy to be scared again. And when that happened, I didn't know how we could survive that. But when the odds are stacked against you, you need an anchor. And for me, my anchor has always been my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. At the age of 8 years old, my mother, again, we were watching 700 Club together, and I told her, Mom, pray for me or pray with me. I want to accept him into my heart. I know I was young. I probably never really understood the magnitude of it, but it's that step of faith that you take. And it's been a long journey since. I have fallen many times, but many times I've gotten back up. And I wouldn't have it any other way. It's through the mountaintops and the valleys He has been my strength and my defense. And how I know that is in this season, right after my partner's illness, a year later, I lost 2 sources of income. In this economy, with this finance bill, that's huge. Preach. That's huge. I still can't believe it's going through, by the way. But that's huge. That's a big gap. I just thought this is the worst timing. One thing after another. Ever been in that place where it's too much? When they say it rains, it pours? It's not a lie, yeah? Like you just can't catch a break. Naturally, we're all introverts, funny enough, in our family. I withdrew even more from my friends, my family, the public life. And purely because I just couldn't feel like I could show up and I felt like my world was falling apart. I would stay awake at night. I love my sleep, guys. But for the first time in my life, I've had insomnia. I'd be up and I couldn't understand what this new world was. And it's hard when you have children and you don't know what tomorrow looks like. How is this month going to end? It's difficult. But being here on this stage for me is a big deal. And why I say that is because I'm still in the thick of things. I don't know what the future holds. Only God knows how it's going to look like with my partner's health condition, our finances, all of us clearly as a collective. Only He knows. And for me, it's a lesson in, even in that moment, because I feel like we wait around for things to be perfect, have things all figured out. But sometimes where you are is okay. It's okay to not be okay, to not have it all figured out. And truly take that step of faith and surrender to God's good and perfect will. For me, that's always been a safer bet. So even when I lost my sources of income, when you're at the bottom, what I've discovered, that at your lowest, you can find new strength. That is how my watch business was born, Mali. And for me, that's a testament of, even here, God's got you, and a good support system. So for me, in this season, I'm just learning to, or appreciate the gift of time. Don't take time for granted. Scripture says, number your days. You don't know. Right now, right here is all we have. So I'm more intentional with the time I spent, with whom I spend it with, and love on my loved ones like never before. I've become the cliche chick who smells the roses, takes in the sunshine, and because right here, right now is all I have, and I'm making the most of it. Thank you.